founder of Empowering Leap. How are you doing? I hope you're having a great day so far. Today I am super honored to be joined by an amazing man, a super successful businessman, and also the president of the London Cardinals Toastmaster Club, Mohammed Al Bayati. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you for having me, Jeanette.
So today, what we want to talk, or what I brought Mo to talk about today, was actually around his journey about Toastmasters and how the whole club has helped him grow along his journey and helped him push him along the way. For the audience out there who don't know what Toastmasters is, Mo, would you mind explaining to the audience what Toastmasters is? It's a bit of a funny name, isn't it?
Sure, no problem. So Toastmasters is a international institution. It was set up in 1924 by someone called 𝐈𝐧𝐯𝐬𝐿, who had aspirations to really empower the working men and his colleagues who really felt that they didn't have a voice. So he created a club where people would attend in order to improve their public speaking skills. And it blossomed from there, and ever since then, Toastmasters has now grown to more than 1,500 clubs worldwide.
Wow.
It's an organization that has clubs practically in every city around the world. And it's an organization that really is committed to continuing that kind of vision that 𝐈𝐧𝐯𝐬𝐿 had of empowering people with better communication skills, and also empowering them with better, more active listening skills.
That's probably one of the two most powerful tools that anyone can ever have. Public speaking and actually active listening, right?
Absolutely.
And so, would you mind sharing with the audience a little bit about your journey with Toastmasters? How did it start? Why did it start? And why do you love it so much to the point where you want to become a president?
So with Toastmasters, it wasn't something that was on my horizon, but I was on that journey of self-development. I'd embarked on really turning myself inside out, looking at how I could improve the different areas of my life. And so I met people who are like-minded, and so one of my friends invited me to Toastmasters. Said, I think you need to check this out. This is something that you might like, but really didn't elaborate more than that. For those who haven't been to a Toastmasters meeting, it can seem a bit out of the ordinary. There is a certain meeting format. There are people who are committed to really being a stand for others, and so that kind of friendliness is a bit strange. You don't normally walk into a work environment or a social gathering environment where strangers would come up to you and just start talking and asking things about you, right? And so for me, that was a novelty as a starting point, and I thought, okay, there must be something. There must be a big sale here. There is a sale somewhere along the lines.
So you felt tricked then at that first meeting?
Yeah, absolutely.
What was I brought into?
Exactly. I thought I was being set up for something.
The credit card, hiding.
Exactly. The wallet just suddenly went deeper into the back pocket. I settled in and I saw what seemed to me to be a group of people who were really very efficient at communicating. Mm-hmm. They were empowered. They were able to deliver a message succinctly in a structure, and they were also able to deliver something at random without any previous preparation. And that, for me,
wow.
I thought, well, this was seemed to be an attractive thing, and I was intrigued. And then my journey developed from that point onwards. I met people who were great storytellers, great orators, people who weren't great at communications but were able to listen and were able to evaluate, and that's the beauty about Toastmasters, and that every meeting is an opportunity to either participate as a speaker and also to be evaluated. And so you are invited to participate in both different aspects, and it helps to develop both of those technical skills.
So what we always hear about is that public speaking is probably one of the most feared things, even more than death, is
Yes.
what I've heard, right? And what you're saying is you get voluntarily, or you choose to go into this room and present yourself, either prepared speeches or unprepared and impromptu speaking. So how do you feel like Toastmasters actually help with that sense, to make it a little bit less scary for those?
Well, it really does boil down to the people behind it. Every single club will have a different set of values. I mean, they all work within the same Toastmasters framework in terms of the curriculum and the programs that they deliver, but they have a different flavor. There'll be clubs that are a bit more, I would say, cutthroat, where you have certain market industry members who have a particular character set, and they're a lot more aggressive. Then there are more friendlier clubs that are more social clubs, based in residential areas, and that's what makes it, really interesting. But London Cardinals, for me, the most attractive thing about London Cardinals was the values of friendliness, warmth, and acceptance. The minute you step into a London Cardinals meeting, you are immediately, you feel like as if you're amongst friends. It's a warm, welcoming environment. You're encouraged to speak, and that level of encouragement is continuous. And so for me, that was the real attractiveness about London Cardinals, because the members behind the club had those values of really being a stand for you and really wanting you to develop in your public speaking skills or whatever you wanted to work on. And so that was the attractiveness for me.
I love that. So actually what Toastmasters seem to be is that super supportive environment, that peer group and the community that everyone out there is looking for.
Exactly that, yeah.
And it seems to be so easily attainable through Toastmasters, whilst actually improving on public speaking skills.
Absolutely. And it's, I remember one of the best piece of advice I ever received when I started with Toastmasters. I used to have heart palpitations. My stomach was in my mouth, and I would be getting cold sweats at the thought of having to go up onto stage to answer an impromptu question that I hadn't prepared for.
Just to pause you there, if anyone is watching this is impromptu speaking, everyone. This is not scripted. This is what 7 years of Toastmasters does for you. Anyway, please carry on.
So for me, that experience was paralyzing. I would sit in my chair, and even though I'd actually put myself in that spot, I'd actually put my name forward, I kind of threw my hat into the mix, and I dived into the deep end. That fear of actually being called up to answer a question I hadn't prepared for, amongst very capable communicators, was for me petrifying. And that piece of advice that I got from my mentor was, imagine you're in your living room and the people in front of you are your friends. Now you wouldn't have a fear of, calling out your best friend at the back of the room, would you? Or you wouldn't have an issue answering a random question asked by one of your friends. And so you don't really need to be prepared when you're sitting with your friend and you're having a conversation. And so why would you need to be prepared to speak amongst other people? So when he put it to me in that way, it really made an impact on how I dealt with that anxiety of speaking in front of people without preparation.
And this is a piece of advice that you got from Toastmasters.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow, how amazing. I'm going to adopt that. I love it. Not only do you get this incredible community, but also you have this incredible mentors as well who give you lifetime advice that it just helps you grow so much. And so on the topic of growth then, how would you say that Toastmasters has helped you grow from a personal and a business perspective?
Personally, it's enabled me to respond to questions at a given moment, any given moment. So I'm able to structure my answers in a way that is succinct and impactful. And I try not to get dragged into a laborious conversation. And even during meetings, in a professional capacity, I know when something, when everyone is laboring on a point and not really reaching a conclusion. And so that has enabled me to really be more efficient in my work environment, because when I'm hosting meetings, no matter the caliber of the people attending, whether they are high-ranking officials, high-net-worth individuals, investors, stakeholders, consultants, I'm able to really coordinate the meeting in a way that is efficient, that all the points on the agenda are met, the discussion is progressive, the conversation is constructive, and that there are very clear, concise action points for everyone. And so that has come about not just through Toastmasters, but it's a kind of plethora. It's like a combination of a need to be able to be efficient with my time. And certainly during the pandemic, where we were having back-to-back Zoom meetings, it was that much more important to be efficient with time, because there were that many more meetings that you could attend. So, I remember in one day, I had literally 8 meetings back to back, 8 hours back to back. And so being efficient with time became that much more important. And I think that's where Toastmasters and the training that I received from Toastmasters really came into its own. On a more personal level, again, conversations with friends, colleagues became that much more impactful. So I would, rather than just having a conversation that just led to nowhere, I would be having a conversation that inspired someone. I would be able to pluck a quote that I'd memorized or that I'd heard from someone else, or a story or an analogy or a metaphor that really resonated with a friend or a colleague, that impacted them so much that they would actually have a change in their life course. Yes. But my orthodontist was just talking to me, and he saw me, I cycled into the appointment, and he started talking to me about why I was cycling and why I wasn't taking the car. And I started talking to him, and by the end of the conversation, how short a time you have with dentists.
Yeah. And you're like,
most of the time your mouth is open. But in the time that I did speak, he went quiet. And then the next appointment that I had with him, he said, you spoke to me about your exercise and what you're doing and the way you live your life, and that really inspired me. And I've started to look into it myself. And now I am incorporating an element of exercise within my routine, within my daily routine. And that was all, just a casual conversation that I had, and I was able to express myself so that he could see how passionate I was about why I did what I did. I was able to convey that in a very clear way, so much so that it inspired him to then take it up himself.
Wow, how amazing. And so, just to wrap this up, Mo, I always ask my guests to give one tip or one advice that they would have to the audience about to actually inspire them to grow or help them on their growth journey. If there's one tip that you could say, you can't say join Toastmasters, that would be cheating.
No,
but absolutely. If it's not that one, what would you say would be?
I would say just be open to the possibility that anything is possible. When you go into a cinema and you are watching a movie, you subconsciously open yourself to that possibility that anything you see on screen is going to be possible. Whether it's a boy riding on a broomstick, or dinosaurs roaming the earth, or going back in time. Yeah. You're open to that possibility. And if you approach life in the same way, then anything is possible, and any opportunity suddenly becomes visible to you. And that's what I would give. So be open to the possibilities, and you will see them all around you.
Wow, that is so beautiful. Thank you so much for coming onto my webcast today, Mo. So, guys, you've been listening. Mo is the president of the London Cardinals. If you ever wanted to check that out, we're going to put the link onto my post in the description. And thank you very much for listening today, and we'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.